Welcome to the Contemporary American Theater Festival's Shepherdstown Sneak Peek. I'm Gabrielle Tokach, and I have the honor of being the Public Relations Manager for the festival. Thank you so much for joining us online this evening. We thought that converting this to an online event was the best way to ensure the health and the safety of our patrons and staff, while still being able to connect with you and share the arts with you. We are diligently practicing social distancing, so I would like to take a moment to recognize the staff members of the festival. CATF Founder and Producing Director Ed Herendine, Associate Producing Director Peggy McCowan, Company Manager Nicole N. Smith, Director of Development Vicki Willman, Business Manager Ebony Helmick, Production Manager Trent Kugler, and Production Supervisor Chase Molden. I have a confession to make. We make live theater, and this is the first time we have ever done anything like this, so if we have any bumps or hiccups, we ask that you just bear with us for a moment. To kick off our pre-show party, we are going to show you how to make the special drinks that we were hoping to share with you this evening. Nicole Smith, our company manager, and her partner Justin, who is an amazing bartender, are going to show us how to make those beverages. Let's go check it out.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Contemporary American Theater Festival's 30th anniversary celebration. My name is Nicole, and I'm the company manager, and this is my partner Justin, who will serve as your bartender this evening. Welcome to our home. Justin, why don't you go ahead and let us know what you're making here tonight?
Perfect. Today I am making a red wine sangria, and I also am preparing an Argentinian hot chocolate to represent our upcoming play, Ushuaia Blue.
Fantastic. I think it's a great way to kind of kick us off and introduce us to the world of the playwright, Carrie Dad's Fitch. Why don't you go ahead and take it away?
All right, so over here I have already prepared one sangria, which looks like this. So I have included about a half a bottle of Argentinian Malbec. I put in roughly 3 ounces of cherry brandy and about a half a cup of lemonade to give it a little sweetness. I added a little bit of cherries, lemons, oranges, and apple, which I'll do here. Just a little pinch here and there of
Make it a little
everything.
festive.
Yeah.
Spruce it up a little bit.
And just pour your sangria over the top.
Awesome. So easy to make.
For the hot chocolate, also very easy. You're going to go ahead and start by heating up about a cup of whole milk is what we used. You're welcome to try any other dairy alternatives, but we found that whole milk did kind of work the best, makes everything really creamy and mixed everything together really well. But I've got milk over here heating up already, and I'm just going to add about a half a teaspoon of sugar, about a quarter teaspoon of vanilla, just give it a good whisk. It's important to get your milk nice and hot, but you don't want it to boil over. So just wait for it to get hot. Turn it up a little bit. And when you start to get all those little bubbles around the edges, you're doing pretty good. So we're going to take this off. Well, let's add our chocolate first. I'm just adding a brick of chocolate to our cup. And for that, we're just using a dark chocolate. You can about 73% dark cocoa. We're using a Godiva bittersweet. If you want to do a little more something
like eco-friendly brand. This is actually one of my favorite chocolates, the Endangered Species chocolate. So 10% of the proceeds go to the Endangered Species Funds, and then it's also non-GMO, which is really cool.
Milk's nice and hot now. And let's just pour that over the top. And because this is a party, I'm going to add some vodka.
This, again, is another one of our favorite vodkas. It's, I'm going to say locally sourced. We just came in from Oregon. Justin's from there. And this particular vodka is made from there. So anytime that we go home and visit, we actually get one of these bottles because it's supporting the local economy and a family-owned business, which is really cool.
And I just did about an ounce of vodka. You don't want to get it too strong. You want to taste all the chocolate and everything. So Make sure the chocolate gets stirred up, nice and melty.
No, it's really starting to smell good.
Okay. And for a little bit of fun, I'm going to add a dollop of whipped cream right to the top. Take a little more chocolate and just kind of shave some on it, right over the top. Give it some texture. And that's going to do it. Your Argentinian cocktails for the night.
Awesome. Well, I think I'm going to take the hot chocolate. I love chocolate. It's one of my favorite decadents. So cheers. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
We look forward to seeing you soon.
That's good.
They're really good.
Justin and Nicole, thank you so much for welcoming us into your home and showing us how to make those beverages. Justin came into the office about a week or so ago and made them for us so we could all taste test them. And that was the best staff meeting that I have ever been to. So I highly suggest that the next time you can make it out of your house, you grab those ingredients and treat yourself to that sangria and hot chocolate. This is the 30th anniversary of the Contemporary American Theater Festival, and we want to make this sneak peek extra special. We want to celebrate the Argentinian culture to correspond with the play Ushuaia Blue by Caridad Savich. Ushuaia is actually the last stop where you get on a boat before you can go over to Antarctica. In order to celebrate that culture, one of the things that we were going to do is have tango dancers to move with us throughout the evening and show us how to tango. But since we can't be with you in person, we suggest that you hop on over to YouTube and find some videos where you learn to tango. They really break it down step by step for you, I promise. I am not a dancer, and I was able to do it this afternoon, so if I can do it, you can certainly do it as well. At this time, I would like to thank our sponsors for making this evening possible. I'm going to use my cheat sheet so I don't forget anybody. The Bristol-Myers Squibb Foundation, the Jefferson County Convention and Visitors Bureau, Jefferson Distributing, Miller's Residential Creations, and the Schaefer Wealth Advisors. We would also like to give a special shout out to our partners, Shepherd University and the Shepherdstown community. Thank you so much for all of the support that you've given us for the past 30 years. To kick off the evening, we have a special message from the President of the Board of Trustees. Let's go inside.
Welcome to the 30th anniversary season of the Contemporary American Theater Festival. I'm Mary Ellen Ahern, President of the Board of Trustees, and tonight we'll be doing something that we've never done before. We'll be, through the marvels of technology, live streaming to you a sneak peek into our 30th anniversary season. By doing it this way, we are able to share with you our current plans while respecting the need for each and every one of us to stay safe and healthy. Our commitment to you is to keep you current with our plans and informed on any changes we need to make as a result of these unprecedented times. We thank you for your patronage, your support, and your understanding. Enjoy the evening.
And now that we are inside the Marinoff Theater, there's another trustee I would like to introduce you to, Rick Schaefer, who has a special 30th anniversary season announcement for us.
Thank you, Gabby. Hello and welcome. My name is Rick Schaefer. I'm a trustee of the Contemporary American Theater Festival and co-chair with Susan Mills for the 30th Anniversary Committee.
Hola, ¿qué tal? I'm Susan Mills. I'm the co-chair of the 30th Anniversary season at the Contemporary American Theater Festival. Welcome to tonight's first online sneak peek, and I look forward to seeing you all in person this summer at the theater. Salud!
Ed, we commend and applaud your vision, hard work, and continuing dedication to excellence. The 30th Anniversary Committee is establishing the Artistic Fund to honor and celebrate the Contemporary American Theater Festival's 30th anniversary season. I'd like to take a moment to discuss the why behind this Artistic Fund. As you know, the mission of CATF is to produce and develop new American theater. First, the Artistic Fund will establish a resource to enhance this mission by encouraging the commissioning of plays. Second, over the years, Ed has strived to ensure equality, diversity, inclusiveness of the playwrights, actors, and topics. Words matter. Third, one of the most critical components of CATF's success is CATF staff. This fund is dedicated to their promotion and continued development, including development from a business, leadership, and artistic perspective. Sheila, my wife, and I agreed to kick off the Artistic Fund with the first donation. I would like to encourage you to contribute this evening and throughout the season with an amount starting with a 3 and maybe ending a 0, 2, or 3. Please join us in supporting the Artistic Fund in honor of the 30th anniversary. Back to you, Gabby.
Rick and Sheila, thank you so much for starting the Artistic Fund. And thank you to the other donors who have already contributed to this special fund. If you would like to make a contribution, you can visit us online at catf.org, or Vicki Willman is actually at home anxiously awaiting your phone call. Her phone number is, I'm going to use my cheat sheet again, 304-200-3137, 304-200-3137. And I would like to take this opportunity to once again thank this evening's sponsors: Bristol Myers Squibb Foundation, the Jefferson County Convention and Visitors Bureau, Jefferson Distributing, Miller's Residential Creations, and the Schaefer Wealth Advisors, and of course, the Shepherdstown community and Shepherd University. And now I would like to introduce you to our artistic leadership, Ed and Peggy, who are going to share the 6 dynamic plays that make up the 30th anniversary season.
Good evening, everyone. And first, let me thank Gabby for that virtual introduction. I think it's the first time I've ever been introduced virtually. But as you know, out of an abundance of caution, we are all isolated. We have been working from home this week. But we are so excited to be with you tonight. I just regret that we couldn't be with you in person, in community, where we could thank you personally, looking you in the eye, thank the Shepherdstown community for 30 years of their support for New American Theater, to thank our host, Shepherd University. But we're here with you nonetheless. We're optimistic, we're hopeful, and as you know, we are passionate about New American Theater. So I'm really happy to have this time with you. And first of all, I want to introduce to you on the phone, also isolated, is our associate producing director, Peggy McCowan. So let me just make sure she's with us right now so she can say a welcome and a hello. Peggy, are you with us?
I am. Hello, everybody. Hi, Ed.
Hey.
It's funny. I haven't seen you for days.
It's been a little over a week, hasn't it? You know? Yeah.
So I want to say thanks to everybody for tuning in tonight and for really trying to hang in there with us to learn about these plays. And I especially want to thank the sponsors who have agreed to stay with this project, even though we've had to move it to a different format. So, and I'm going to just mention them quickly. Special thanks to Bristol Myers Squibb, Jefferson County Convention and Visitors Bureau, Jefferson Distributing, Miller's Residential Creations, and Schaefer Wealth Advisors, who have sponsored this evening and continue to sponsor this evening no matter what format, and continue to be great advocates for the Contemporary American Theater Festival.
You know, that's really, really, I think, heartwarming to hear. And what were you going to say, Peggy?
I was going to say, over to you, Ed.
Oh, okay. You know, we're not too bad at this so far. Let's see if we can keep this virtual relationship going. But I was going to say, you know, to echo what you said, it's really means a lot to you and I and to our staff and to all the artists that we have the kind of sponsorship and support from our donors who are behind us. As we don't know where we're going, we are planning now, ladies and gentlemen. We are optimistic. We are hopeful, and as I said before, we're passionate about staying on schedule, but we all know that we're taking it a day at a time, and we're checking in with the CDC, which is why we're all isolated this week, and we will continue to take our directions, as you are at home, So let's just see where this goes. We have plans in place if things change, and you'll be one of the first to know. We'll communicate with our audience and our patrons and our donors throughout this next few weeks. We definitely are living in a tumultuous time, but what better time when we finally come out of it to want to gather back again in a dark room with each other to hear live storytelling. My prediction is we have always craved storytelling, and I believe that we are going to crave it even more, that the theater, the opera, and classical and contemporary music is going to experience a renaissance because we're all going to want to be together, and we're all going to want to be concentrating on something outside of ourselves as we look to hear stories and as we look to find a deeper meaning to our lives by seeing live art. So let's begin. Thank you for being here. So Peggy, anything you want to add before I jump into the plays about sort of what our plans are? Because we don't know. We're just going to presume that everything's going to be okay, but we have plans in case it isn't.
Yes, and as we're our process, we're ready. I think we're ready to hear about those plays.
All right. I'm going to put this phone down so I can really let it rip, okay? So, yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to introduce you to our 2020 season, a rotating repertory of 6 new American plays, 5 world premieres, and 1 second production. It is an extraordinary season, and it really is going to ask overall, in terms of the question of the season, what are the stakes in these plays? I think we have chosen a selection of plays, a season of plays, a repertory of plays that really have raised the bar of what's at stake. The stakes are high in the world, the stakes are high in this nation, and these playwrights have stepped up and are all asking the same question in many ways. What's at stake with this work? So let's begin by bringing back Shepherdstown Hutchinson. You remember her from 2 other plays. This is our 3rd play together. I'm right about that, Peggy, right? This is 3 plays? So we welcome Shepherdstown back to the Contemporary American Theater Festival for her world premiere, Whitelisted. Now, this is a new genre for us. This is a horror story. This is a revenge horror story. This is a supernatural play about gentrification, racism, and relationship and family. What happens is Rebecca, a Caucasian woman who builds classic dollhouses, custom-made dollhouses for a living, buys a brownstone, evicts Yvette, an African-American woman, and she gentrifies the brownstone, she remodels it, she modernizes it, and now what happens, and we won't go too much further because I don't want to give anything away, the place is haunted. The place is haunted. Supernatural things will begin to happen in Rebecca's brand new hipster apartment. Things are happening. It's scary. It's funny. We're employing all sorts of techniques for special effects, including flying actors. So it's going to be a really extraordinary theatrical spectacle for us. And at the same time, the play is going to move in that classic Contemporary American Theater Festival way. It's a comedy. It gets serious. And then it will ultimately, I think, break your heart. But it has hope, and it's a very important theme that Shepherdstown has brought us before. And we welcome Shepherdstown Hutchinson back on the Frank stage with the world premiere of Whitelisted. In repertory... I'm so glad you reminded me, because when I start to let it rip, I get into the zone. So that's why we have this phone right here. I'm so glad. Nancy and Carrie Feldman, thank you. And I want to thank them personally for stepping up and sponsoring this play. So thank you to Nancy and Carrie Feldman.
And Nancy is a board member.
And that's important because I think several of our plays are being sponsored by board members this year. So keep reminding me of that, Peggy. So, and it's a good example of how we are so supported by such a supportive board of trustees and an honorary board of trustees. So thank you. Also in rotating rep with Whitelisted is the world premiere of Fifth Domain, The Fifth Domain by Victor Lesniewski. And this play is sponsored by Deb Weisbacher. So thank you, Deb, for sponsoring The Fifth Domain. Now, if you know that term, the fifth domain, which I didn't know until I read the play and have done some of the research, the fifth domain is where cyber war will take place in the future. Victor Luzniewski has written this play. It is set right now in the present, and the play opens with the West Coast going completely dark. There's no communication. It's off the grid. There is chaos from Los Angeles to Seattle, and the national security and the government in Washington can only see grainy footage of chaos in the streets. Nobody knows what happened, but everything went down. And then a slide will come up to say 2 weeks before, and we're going to learn the story of how this happened to our country. We're going to meet Troy, formerly with the NSA, and you might think of him as an Edward Snowden-esque character, but this is clearly not Edward Snowden. This is Troy. And he's a genius. He's a genius when it comes to cybersecurity. And he's going to begin a story where he's approached by Navid because Navid needs a penetration expert, which is a term I've just learned from reading the play and talking with Victor. He's going to go in to explore how vulnerable this system is that we don't know that they're working on. However, we're going to find out through the course of the play. This is a thrilling, espionage, political thriller. And it's a play that should have us all, and it had me turning the pages when I first read it back in September. And I continue to be on the edge of my seat as I read it. I'm really looking forward to bringing this play to you. It is ripped from the headlines, and it's going to ask some key central questions. What is patriotism? Who is a patriot? Is Troy a hero, a patriot, or a traitor? That's one of the key questions. The next questions it's going to ask you and I, all of us in the audience, how vulnerable is our nation to cyber threats? How vulnerable are each of us? And what's our cybersecurity? Are we protected? Is our government protecting us? And the next key question, which is going to be a volatile question for you to debate as you come to these plays, how do we hold our government accountable? So man, hopefully that got your attention. So that's the Frank Center. We're going to jump down to our intimate 99-seat studio theater. And I'm happy to announce that the next play that I want to tell you about received its world premiere just a few months ago at the South Coast Repertory Theater. And so we are really happy that Kevin Artique, the playwright, wants to continue to work on this play here in Shepherdstown. This is the new American play, Sheepdog, by Kevin Artique. Sheepdog is a two-character play. You might say it's another one of those ripped from the headlines. So at its face value, if you read our website, white cop kills black guy. Okay, we've heard that story before. It's sad, it's disturbing, it makes us angry, and it brings up social justice. However, Kevin's also molded into this story a relationship between Ryan, who is a young Caucasian Cleveland police officer, and his partner is Amina, who is a African-American Cleveland police officer, and they fall in love. They fall in love and begin a deep, loving relationship. We are rooting as an audience for this interracial relationship. We are rooting for them. They care for each other. They seem to be very interested in wanting to make this work. And then it will all change. And I don't want to tell you more than that, except that I think this is a play that we need to see. We need to have conversations about. And it's a play that I think you'll find has that Contemporary American Theater Festival edge to it, that it will be gut-wrenching for all of us to try to deal with the reality of what Kevin so beautifully and poetically does in the language in this play. Sheepdog is sponsored by Chuck and Stephanie Partridge. So I really want to thank them for continuing to sponsor plays at the Contemporary American Theater Festival. So thank you, Chuck and Stephanie. In rotating rep with Sheepdog. Oh, and by the way, take a minute and Google the term sheepdog. You know, I think you're going to find out that Kevin has really researched this play. Sheepdogs and the sheepdog guards the flock from the wolves. So just keep that in mind as you're thinking about this play. In rotating rep with Sheepdog is the world premiere of The House of the Negro Insane by San Francisco Bay playwright Terence Anthony. Now, just that title should catch your attention. This play is sponsored, let me begin there. I'm so grateful that this play is sponsored by Beth Batdorf, a trustee, and John Breslin, her husband. They have been loyal patrons and sponsors with the festival for many years. So I want to personally do a shout out. And Peggy, I think you should do a shout out to them also.
Thank you. Thank you, Beth and John. I think one of the reasons, too, that Beth is very excited about supporting this play is because it also deals with mental wellness. And I know that is both professionally and personally an important issue for her. And so I think she's really excited to see this play as well.
That's great. Thank you for bringing that up. You know, that's what happens with contemporary work. We find ways that we identify with these issues that each of these plays this season will do. And this play in particular touched Beth very deeply when I gave it to her to read. Okay, The House of the Negro Insane, set in 1935. So this is a period play. It is set in the Taft State Mental Institution in Oklahoma. Taft State Mental Institution is one of 7 mental institutions that were constructed in the 30s by the United States government for the sole purpose to house, and I quote, idiotic and insane Negroes. Incarcerating idiotic, insane Negroes. So that's the setting of this play, and there were 7 of them built in the United States. Terence is also extremely interested, as you can see, in mental health as well as incarceration. So what's interesting in this story is that Atias is the main character in the play, and he is building coffins in the wood shop at the hospital. That's his job. He's a carpenter. And he is interrupted by a new inmate, Effie, who's in her late 20s, and she comes to ask Atias to help her to escape. Now, Atias has been incarcerated for 10 years, and he's what you would call a survivor. He shouldn't be there. He's not insane. We'll learn that. However, he's been very able to survive in this horrendous experience of being incarcerated in this state hospital. And therein lies the conflict, therein lies the storytelling, and therein lies the introduction of a 12-year-old girl who actually is an epileptic. Her name is Madeline. Of course, the government assumes that she was insane. And the 2 of them are going to try to talk Atias into taking them to freedom. So this play, in many ways, is a play about the road to freedom. It really is going to ask all of us to question incarceration. How has incarceration changed, or has it, since the 1930s, since slavery, the 1930s, and even today? Because you know, when a writer writes a play set in the 30s, we're really talking about today. It is a relevant, immediate, and contemporary play. I don't want to give too much away, but I want to tell you you're in for a real treat because it sounds like, and it is, it's a very serious play. There's humor in it, but it's a very serious subject. But Terence writes so poetically and so beautifully, and there is such love and light in this play, which appears on the page at the beginning to be a play about darkness. I think it's going to be a very beautiful, heartbreaking, difficult journey to watch, but that's why you come to the Contemporary American Theater Festival. So I'm really looking forward to introducing you to the words of this writer and to this new American play. So thank you for that. Now we have a treat. We have one of our board members, David Emerson Toney, who many of you in the D.C. area know from 30 years at Arena Stage. In fact, and I think I want to check in with Peggy, David was actually in rehearsal for 7 Guitars, right, at Arena?
Yes, he was. And also CATF patrons will remember him from our production of Stick Fly, which went on to Arena by Lydia Diamond. They may recognize his face from CATF too.
That's great. What a great segue, because we're so proud of David. I've known David for a long time. He's been, as Peggy said, in some plays here. Stick Fly. We helped nurture Stick Fly. Molly Smith came and took it to Arena and then all the way to Broadway. But David Toney was in that cast at the Contemporary American Theater Festival. So here's a treat, ladies and gentlemen. David's going to read just a small piece from Terence Anthony's House of the Negroes Insane.
I didn't see what I should have seen. I had so many thoughts. Too many. Too many thoughts. The kind of thoughts I can't remember anymore. Thoughts that flew away after they chased me, surrounded me, after they beat them from my head. Too much light, and you remember what you're not allowed to be. Remember the places you're not allowed to go. In the dark, I don't have to remember all the things taken away. What I lost in the light. It's too bright out there. So much light you can't see the danger. It's too bright.
Thank you. You know, the only thing I wish is that we were all together, so we could have even done more with David and maybe had another actor do that live so we could have seen it. But we're learning as we're going, and so here we are. Thank you, David Toney. And now let's move up to the Marinoff Theater, where we have a rolling world premiere to share with you by Jacqueline Goldfinger, Philadelphia playwright Jackie Goldfinger, the world premiere of Babel. Now, Babel, and if you've been to our website or you want to jump to it now and look at our graphic, you'll see that it's kind of a stork delivering a baby, and that's a really perfect, I think, image for us. Babel is set in the near future, and it really seems like not so much the future at all. But Babel is about two couples who are pregnant and expecting a baby. And now, in this futuristic time, you must bring your baby. You must have your baby pre-tested in utero while you're pregnant. The government tests your baby to make sure that it's healthy, both physically and socially, that all the genes and DNA line up so that we would only give birth to a healthy generation of new babies. And your baby must be pre-certified before you can give birth. And so what sets up the conflict in this play that's very funny, you know, it's a classic CATF, and I know I say this a lot. This is a funny play about two couples. You have a lesbian couple, and then you have this other couple. They're both having babies. One couple's baby is pre-certified, and the other couple's baby is not pre-certified, but they don't tell anybody. Therein lies the storytelling, and therein lies the conflict, the humor, and then ultimately, and I really stress this, ultimately the dramatic conclusion of this futuristic play. Babel by Jacqueline Goldfinger. And it's going to receive a rolling world premiere around the country, so we're really happy to be a part of that. Peggy, anything you want to add to that?
Yes. Can you mention, or shall I mention, the National New Play Network, which is the organization that's sponsoring the world premiere that is rolling and continues to be great advocates of new play work and continues to help theaters throughout the country get these playwrights commissions and productions, and they've done a lot to support new play work.
And we love collaborating with them. Peggy, I don't want to put you on the spot, but just between the two of us, what have been our recent collaborations with NNPN, the National New Play Network, and the Rolling World Premiere?
Well, we did a roll of Memoirs of a Forgotten Man. We did Not Medea. We did My Lord, What a Night. We did... I know. But
if you kept our programs, then you can look that up. So we have been a part of the Rolling World Premiere, and we're really proud to be a part of that, which really launches a play into the regional theaters. It has to be done outside of New York. Isn't that one of the rules?
Yes.
Yeah. So we're really proud to join the other theaters on this rolling world premiere for Babel. So thank you, Peggy. That was great. And a shout out to Nan Barnett, who is the extraordinary leader of the National New Play Network. And finally, our final play of the 6-play repertory is a stunning, poetic, lyrical new play by the prolific, hardworking playwright Caridad Savich. And I say this, if you Google her and look up how many plays this is an extraordinarily talented writer that I've had the really great fortune of spending several meetings in the fall with her when I met her for the first time. I've known about her work and have come close to producing it. So thrilled to receive this play. And the name of this play is Ushuaia Blue. Take a look at that graphic and you'll get where we're going with this if you're on our website. Ushuaia Blue is set. Oh, well, let me tell you about the sponsors first. Our great friends, Mina Goodrich and Lawrence Dean, are sponsoring this play. Now, I had never heard of Ushuaia, Argentina. That's where the play takes place, at the tip of Argentina, and they call it the end of the world. Since I've looked it up and I have the map and I've been working on the play, when I was talking to our sponsors, Mina Goodrich and Lawrence Dean, come to know they've been there. It's on a bucket list for a lot of people. I want to go. It's literally where the Pacific and the Atlantic come together, but it's also the last stop on the mainland before you take a boat to Antarctica, which is really the heart and soul of this play. Ushuaia Blue was commissioned by the University of Alabama to have Caridad write a play about the famous marine biologist who's on the faculty there, James McClintock. And if you want further reading, you can read James McClintock's famous book, Lost Antarctica. Now, Caridad spent months interviewing him and getting to know him and learning the research, visiting him at the University of Alabama and interviewing him for this play. And the play took on a completely different direction. So it's not real, it's inspired by James McClintock. But Caridad has now written a love story about two scientists, a marine biologist named Jordan and a bioacoustic scientist named Sarah. They are in love, they are married, they live in a small southern college town, but they spend their years, several months of the year, on Antarctica and doing research there. So this play is actually going to take place in 3 different time zones. You have the Antarctica exploration and research, which is actually in the past. You have the present, because very early on in this play, ladies and gentlemen, like before, when the lights come up, you will see that Sarah has had an accident in Antarctica. She falls on the ice and is now flown back to the United States, and she's in a coma. So for the rest of the play, we are going to be on the edge of our seats, along with Jordan, her husband, who is with her, and with her group of friends. They are waiting for Sarah to wake up. So there's that. That's the present time zone. And then there's what Caridad calls an alternative or suspended time, which is coma time, where we're actually in a coma with Sarah. Now, I don't want to tell you too much about it, but I do want to tell you that this play is like reading a long poem. It is truly poetic. It is lyrical. We have we're going to hire a choreographer and a movement director, and we've commissioned original music from broken chord folk to write the soundtrack to this play about ice and wind and water and all of that world that Antarctica brings to us. It is a love story. It is a tragedy. And the questions, I think you can already see the metaphors, is will Sarah wake up in time? Maybe that's a question for you and I too. Will we wake up in time? Because it's going to be a play that you will say, some people are going to say this is a play about climate change. Caridad likes to refer to it as climate grief. So we have a special treat. We also asked Caridad, the playwright, in her own words, to read a monologue from Peppa. And you'll hear Peppa is an indigenous woman in Ushuaia Argentina. She's her ancestors were from the Yagan tribe. And here's another metaphor. The Yagan people have all gone extinct. So here's Caridad Savich in New York City doing a virtual reading of the character Peppa. And here we go.
Hello all, my name is Caridad Savich and I'm the playwright of Ushuaia Blue. I'm going to read a scene from you, just a short section. The character of Pepa, who works in a lighthouse and is native to Ushuaia, which is Argentina, is talking to Sarah, who is a bioacoustical engineer and part-time filmmaker. And she's talking to Sarah about the past, basically, and about lineage and about history, and about maybe the times we live in. And so here's a short excerpt. I'm going to now take off my glasses, and I will read the scene for you. Peppa begins. Lucas language is nearly dead. The Yamana or Yagan people's word music is all but gone, save for a word or two. Mamila, Pinatapai. And even it has become just a word, a ripple across time, across space, something someone can look up on a computer or a phone divorced from all context. We lose things. I've seen it happen. This ice is not the same as it once was. Too much suffering. When I had sheep on the farm, I could see it on their faces. People say animals are stupid. Small brains. They don't make faces. But I know different. And I know the look of sadness. Blueness, as you call it, like a monster from the sea that can come over them when the suffering of the earth is too much. The suffering we bring upon it and ourselves through our own stupidity. Why do we need so much? Why do we need so many things? I see them, the tourists, with their this phone and that phone and this device and the other, and always with an eye elsewhere, like what they have is not enough, when what they have could feed a small village. Sometimes the noise is like a sickness, this noise of suffering. And I think, we will drown in this ridiculous noise, because we will know not what else to do. But then I remember this thing that happens sometimes when I wake from a terrible sleep. I put my feet on the ground, and it is cold because I have forgotten my slippers, and oh, how my feet shiver, like the hurt of the earth itself. And I want to curse at everything, use all the beautiful, terrible words and all of the languages, but I don't. I let my feet find their warmth. I let them not give in to the cold. And as soon as I do, my whole body is thinking of hopeful things, even though it knows somewhere there is massive stupidity and greed and power and hate. I take a step. I look out. I think, I will not let myself understand where I am. I will not let myself know too much. Because it is only when I say I do not know that maybe some true knowing comes through. Thank you.
And now we have a really nice surprise for you. I have our playwright, Caridad Savich, on the phone with me from New York, from Manhattan. So, hi, Caridad.
Hi, Ed.
So as you know, thank you for doing that tape of Peppa for us for our virtual sneak preview. So we're all trying to make the best out of this, connecting our audience with the preview of the 6 plays that we're doing. So I'm really happy that you were able to join me on the phone call. I was telling our audience a little while ago about the University of Alabama commissioning you to write this play inspired by James McClintock. Can you tell us a little bit more where the inspiration came and how your relationship with James McClintock has led you to this very poetic and lyrical, stunningly beautiful play, Ushuaia Blue?
It's sort of somewhat sidelong how this all occurred. I had a reading of my play, The Way of Water, which is about the aftermath of the Deepwater Horizon disaster. In 2012, I did a reading scheme with no passport that went around the world, and UAB did a reading of it as part of that scheme. James McClintock was a for that reading, and I later found out when I met him and Ushuaia Blue, before it was called Ushuaia Blue or anything else, and it was just an idea, came to me several years later, so 2 years ago, and said, I'm really a fan of your writing and what you're talking about in terms of climate change and in terms of the environment and how we need to take care of the environment before, it's too late. And would you be interested in writing a play? And it was so we met for coffee. I think the original idea was he sent me his book, Lost Antarctica, one of many books he'd written, and this one is for general reading. His research in Antarctica, and I read it and was very moved by it. We met for coffee in New York on one of his travels, and in the conversation, he said, I really feel it's passion. It's that science and art talk to each other. I think it's also important that the book has its own merit life, so it doesn't feel like a lecture. And are you interested in this idea of writing a play? And I was like, yes. Can I do interviews with you? He said yes. And so what happened is I spent the summer interviewing James McClintock, pretty much virtually. We did some phone things, but it was sort of, I think it was mysterious because not all my were about his research. So part of it was about his research and part of it was about, what kind of music he liked and, and, how did he feel when he was away at the research station for months on end, in terms of his relationship with his family. And, so things that were personal and quirky, were part of the interview process. And I told him straight up that, what I would be doing would probably be sifting through the material of the interview and just kind of let it cook in my brain for a little bit and sort of read about it and then create a play that was inspired by all of that in some way, shape, or form, with focus being Antarctica for sure. So that happened. We interviewed for like over a summer. I looked at everything. I was very interested in what kind of music he liked, and he said he really liked New Age music and Paul Winter Consort, and he also loves classical music. And I was like, oh, okay. And I think I tend to start with music a lot when I write, so just as a source of inspiration. So I think once I knew that, I was like, oh, okay, that puts me in a certain time mind frame or mind I play, and I started to listen to a lot of that a lot of classical music, and specifically the ones that he mentioned, and a lot of Paul Winter, and I just kind of started free write a little bit, and pretty soon I realized I wanted to write a love story, and that it needed to be centered through something that hopefully an audience would be moved by.
That's great. Yeah. Oh, I'm really glad you shared that with everyone. And especially because it really is, at the center of this story is a love story. In getting to talk with you in New York the several times that we've met and getting to know you and your writing, this play in particular seems to have such a personal, and I'm sure all your plays do resonate with you so personally. What is it about what you're trying to deal with that really is extremely personal to you about this particular play?
Several things. One, I've never written anything set in Argentina before. My dad's from Argentina. So part of the play is set in Ushuaia. And I've always wanted to write about Ushuaia. So that was sort of also in the back of my brain. So that's personal and writing from that kind of landscape. And, in some ideal world, the characters that live in Ushuaia that are part of this will be speaking in Spanish. And so I wrote a lot of the language in the play for the native characters in Spanish first, and then I translated myself into English. And the second part of that has to do with, we're at I participated in a press yet now, but some years ago called The Tipping Point, and we were talking about climate change and where we were, and it was just 2009, and so and I think, we've been at the tipping point for a very long time. And I think that just as an artist and citizen, I feel like, I think we have to put ourselves our line in our work. I also think we have to face what I call climate grief. I'm not the only one who calls it that, but climate grief directly, because it's something we've been living with for a very long time. And
yeah, can you go a little bit? You just explain, because I love that term that you use, climate grief. What does that mean? How do you define that for us?
Well, it's partly to do with how do you own up to being complicit in systems that have been human-made systems, to be honest, that have allowed the astounding level of climate change and global warming to occur on the planet. So I think you have to grieve first in order to actually, you have to face something, you have to grieve for what's happening, you have to look at the conditions that have allowed it to occur, and then you have to move through it. And I think it's only until you move through grief that you actually can take action, real action, which goes beyond like recycling, And so I think that it's time. I mean, it's been more than time to do that. I feel like moving through grief also allows us to own up to practices and beliefs and value systems that may be uncomfortable for us to have been complicit in. And in so doing, maybe, hopefully, I'm a creative optimist at heart, God help me. So, I feel like maybe, hopefully, through all of that, especially given the very precarious times we're living in right now, to have, positive, nimble solutions, tangible actions to take in the world, and to actually stick to them and not just pay lip service to them, to say it all, you know what I mean? So I feel like that's where the play is coming from, and it's coming from a place of mourning, and it's coming from a place of that combination of mourning and hope, like hope to, because I think when you make art, you're making hopeful things for the world, because you wouldn't make anything otherwise. So a place of like, listen, please, but also feel some, please, take a ride with us on this, and hopefully that ride will impact your lives as you walk out the door of a theater, virtually, on site, or wherever platform you're in.
That's really beautifully and well said. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was just a few moments of our time this evening on the phone with our playwright, Caridad Savich. Caridad, thank you for taking the time. Stay safe in New York. And we're all self-isolating down here, and I'm sure you're doing the same up there. So be careful, and thanks for joining our our virtual sneak preview tonight. So thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Caridad. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's our 6 plays, and we're really thrilled to be able to spend this time with you. And I want to thank everybody for dialing in and taking a look at this. We're going to keep you posted. We're looking forward to seeing you. I will not give up hope that we do the festival this season. And if things don't work out that way, because we can't do it, then I assure you, you will see all 6 of these plays later. We are committed to giving full productions, whether that means 2020 or 2021. It just means we get to celebrate our 30th anniversary over an extended period of time. We're thrilled to be here with you tonight as we really officially kick off the the 30 years of bringing new American theater to the eastern panhandle of West Virginia, to the oldest town in West Virginia, and as you know, doing the newest plays in America. Thank you for joining us tonight. I want to thank our sponsors again this evening. I want to thank Peggy for joining me on this, and Gabby for setting this up, and Trent, all of those people that are making up this crazy new technology that's blowing my mind, quite frankly. But I'm happy to be with you tonight. Thanks for coming, and we'll see you in the theater as soon as possible.
Again, thank you for joining us this evening. On behalf of the entire Contemporary American Theater Festival staff, we hope that you stay safe and well at home, and we look forward to the next time that we can see you in Shepherdstown.